I found out my husband got a stripper pregnant because she rang my doorbell like she was delivering a package. Not a text, not a phone call, not even some anonymous message from a burner account like in those messy stories people share online. No, she showed up at my house in broad daylight, wearing a hoodie and holding her phone with both hands like it was the only thing keeping her from shaking apart. And the worst part is, when I opened the door and she said his name, I didn't even feel confused. I felt this immediate, sick drop in my stomach, like my body already knew the truth and my brain was just the last to get the memo. I'm 30F. My husband, well, technically still husband while the paperwork crawls along, Marcus, is 33. We'd been together for 6 years, engaged for almost 1, and married for less than 2 months when everything imploded. I know how this sounds. I know you're reading the title and thinking, okay, but nobody is that stupid. Or, this is rage bait. Or, there's no way he could hide something like that. That's what I thought too. But he didn't hide it alone. Marcus and I met at a friend's birthday years ago. He was the guy who stood slightly off to the side, not trying to impress anyone. Calm, funny in a dry way, the type who actually listens instead of waiting for his turn to talk. He asked about my work like he genuinely cared. We ended up leaving the party early, not in a dramatic way, just walking out together, like we'd always been walking side by side. Our relationship was steady, not perfect, but solid. When we argued, we talked it through. When life got stressful, we became a team. He held my hair when I got sick. He drove across town at midnight when my car battery died. He remembered the tiny details, how I take my tea, the song that makes me cry, the way I get quiet when something is bothering me. He also had this almost aggressively normal family, at least on the surface. His mom, Linda, is the kind of woman who has a live, laugh, love sign somewhere in her house, but also runs her family like a small corporation. His dad, Ron, is quieter, the type who avoids conflict by pretending it isn't happening. Marcus has a sister, Paige, who is loud and blunt and weirdly protective of her mother. They weren't my favorite people, but I didn't think they were dangerous, you know? I thought the biggest issue would be Linda's constant comments about how I should let Marcus be the man, or Paige's habit of turning every conversation into a competition. I didn't think I'd be standing in my kitchen 2 months into my marriage, staring at a photo of my husband in bed with another woman while she told me she was pregnant. Marcus proposed on a random Sunday morning. He didn't do a big production. He just made coffee, sat across from me at our tiny kitchen table, and said, "I don't want any version of my future that doesn't have you in it." I cried. He cried. We laughed. It felt right in a quiet, sure way. Wedding planning was stressful, of course, but not catastrophic. We kept it mid-sized, paid for most of it ourselves, and tried to keep family involvement limited. Marcus wanted a bachelor party weekend. His friends planned it. They had a group chat I wasn't in, naturally. I didn't want to be that fiancé who demanded an itinerary and a GPS tracker. I trusted him. He even made a point of telling me, "We're not doing anything stupid. Just drinks, maybe a game, maybe a bar. The guys keep joking about a strip club, but it's not happening. That's not my vibe." He said it casually, too casually in hindsight, like he was already pre-defending himself against an accusation I hadn't made. I remember laughing and saying, "I don't care if you go to a strip club, just don't be an idiot." He kissed my forehead. Never. The bachelor weekend came and went. He came home tired and hungover, smelling like alcohol and cologne that wasn't his. I teased him about it. He groaned and said his friend Kyle spilled something on him at a bar. He was unusually quiet that day. Not distant exactly, just internally occupied. Like he was carrying something heavy and trying not to let it show. I asked, "You okay?" He nodded quickly. "Yeah, just tired. I'm never drinking again." And that was that. Or so I thought. We got married. The wedding was beautiful. Marcus cried during his vows, which made half the room cry. Linda cried too, loudly, and kept telling people, "My son is finally settling down." Paige got drunk and made a weird speech about how hard it is to share a brother. Nothing seemed off. Nothing screamed impending disaster. We went on our honeymoon, a week on the coast. Sunsets, seafood, sex that felt like a celebration, that stupid loved-up feeling where the world seems soft around the edges. I remember laying in bed one night and saying, "Can you believe we're really married?" Marcus smiled and pulled me closer. Best decision I ever made. I believed him. When we came home, life went back to normal. Work, errands, laundry, grocery lists. Marcus started talking about buying a house in the next year, about trying for a baby. Maybe not right away, but soon. I let myself imagine it. Our life, our kids, our future. 3 weeks later, on a Tuesday afternoon, the doorbell rang. Marcus was at work. I was home because I'd taken the day off to catch up on things, cleaning, sorting wedding gifts, finally unpacking the last suitcase. I opened the door and saw a young woman standing there, maybe 23 or 24. Long dark hair tucked into a hoodie, no makeup except mascara. She looked exhausted and terrified, like she'd rehearsed this moment 100 times and still wasn't ready. "Are you Ava?" she asked. My stomach tightened. "Yes?" Her eyes flicked past me into the house, like she was checking if someone else was there. I'm sorry to do this like this," she said. "I didn't know how else to—" My throat went dry. "Do what?" She swallowed hard. "I need to talk to you about Marcus." Time slowed. It's strange how your brain reacts to certain sentences. It didn't immediately jump to cheating. It jumped to accident, illness, bad news. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me, heart pounding. "Okay, what about him?" Her hands were shaking. She gripped her phone tighter. "I'm pregnant," she said quietly. I blinked. "Okay." Her eyes filled with tears. "And it's his." I swear to you, my first reaction was to laugh. Not because it was funny, because it was so outrageous, my brain rejected it. Like she'd said, "I'm pregnant and it's the moon's." "That's not possible," I said automatically. Her face crumpled. "It happened at his bachelor party." My vision narrowed. I felt this weird buzzing in my ears. No, it didn't." She started talking fast, like she needed to spill everything before I slammed the door in her face. "My name is Jess," she said. I worked at this club. He was there with friends. He paid for a private room. She stopped, eyes squeezing shut like she was forcing herself through it. "He told me he was single. He said it was just a night out." My hands went numb. I heard myself ask, "Why are you here?" She opened her phone and held it out. "Because he blocked me. Because he won't answer. Because I found out he's married and I don't know what I'm supposed to do." On her screen were messages. From Marcus. His name, his number. I saw the first one and felt like I got punched. It wasn't just a, "Hey." It was flirtatious, familiar, the way he texts me when he's trying to be playful. Just scrolled. There were explicit lines. There were plans. There were references to meeting up again. My knees almost buckled. I forced myself to focus on the dates. Bachelor weekend. And then days afterward. And then again, the week before our wedding. My mouth went dry. "He came back," Jess whispered, like she knew exactly what I was seeing. "Not with the group. Alone. Twice." I stared at the screen until the words blurred. "You're lying," I said, but my voice didn't sound like I believed it. She shook her head quickly. "I swear to you, I didn't know. When I found out, I confronted him. He told me he loved you and he was going to handle it. He promised he'd help. He promised he'd be involved. And then he disappeared." My entire body was shaking now. "Are you sure it's his?" I asked, because I needed something, anything, to grab onto. Jess nodded, eyes wet. "I haven't been with anyone else since then. I did a timeline. It lines up. I went to the doctor. I'm 12 weeks. 12 weeks. We'd been married 7. My throat closed. Jess's voice got smaller. "I'm not here to fight you. I'm not here to take your life. I can't do this alone. And he's acting like I don't exist." I don't remember exactly what I said. I think I told her I needed proof. She showed me more. Photos of Marcus in the club, a selfie he'd taken with her, a screenshot where he'd sent her money with a note that made my skin crawl. Then she said something that turned my blood to ice. "I tried calling him from another number," she whispered. "Do you want to know who answered?" I stared at her. "His mom," she said. I actually felt dizzy. "What?" Jess nodded quickly. "Linda. I found her number online. I called because I didn't know what else to do. I said I was pregnant, and Marcus wasn't responding." My heart slammed into my ribs. "What did she say?" I whispered. Jess's lips trembled. "She told me to stop trying to ruin her son's life. She said I was lying. Then she told me if I contacted Marcus again, she'd make sure I regretted it." My hands went cold. Linda knew. Linda had known. Maybe from the start, maybe for weeks. But she knew enough to answer that phone call and threaten a pregnant woman. Jess looked at me like she was bracing for me to scream at her. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know you. I didn't know he was engaged." I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice steady. "What do you want?" Jess exhaled shakily. "A DNA test when the baby's born. Financial support. That's it. I'm not asking you for anything. I didn't want you to be blindsided later." Blindsided. I almost laughed again, this time in a broken way. "Okay," I said finally, because I didn't know what else to say. "I need time." Jess nodded. "I understand." Before she left, she looked at me and said quietly, "He promised me he'd tell you." Then she walked away. I stood there on my front step for a long time after she was gone, staring at nothing, feeling like the ground underneath my life had been yanked out. When Marcus got home from work, he walked in like it was any other day. "Hey, babe," he said, leaning in for a kiss. I stepped back. His smile faltered. "What's wrong?" I stared at him for a long moment, taking in his face, his casual posture, the ease with which he existed in the reality he'd built. "Someone came by today," I said. His eyes flickered, just a microsecond. "Who?" "Jess." His face went white so fast, it was almost frightening. And that's when something inside me went very calm. Because in that moment, I knew everything. Not just that he cheated, that he'd been living with this secret, that he'd looked me in the eyes on our wedding day and said vows while knowing he'd gotten another woman pregnant. Marcus stared at the screen, then at me. "Ava, don't," I said, voice shaking. "Just don't." He sat down slowly, like his legs couldn't hold him. His hands went to his head. "It was a mistake," he whispered. I laughed, sharp and ugly. "A mistake? Which part? The bachelor party? Or the part where you went back twice? Or the part where you didn't tell me and married me anyway?" He flinched like I'd hit him. "I was drunk," he said quickly. "The guys pressured me. It got out of hand." "You went back," I said again, slow and deliberate. His eyes darted away. I felt nausea rise. "You went back after sober days. You went back while planning our wedding." He swallowed hard. I don't know why." "Yes, you do," I snapped. "Because you wanted to. Because you thought you could." He started crying. Real tears. "I was scared," he said. "I panicked. I didn't want to lose you." "And your solution," I said, voice rising, "was to cheat on me, get someone pregnant, and then marry me anyway?" He reached for my hand. I pulled away like his touch burned. "She said she was on birth control," he blurted, as if that mattered. My eyes went wide. "Are you serious right now? That's what you're going with? You're blaming her for your betrayal?" "I'm not blaming." "Yes, you are," I cut in. "And you know what else? Your mom knows." Marcus froze. My voice went low. "Linda knows, Marcus." His face crumpled in a way that wasn't guilt. It was fear. "She called my mom?" he whispered. Number. Jess called Linda. Linda threatened her. And Marcus was reacting like he already knew that. I stared at him. "How long has she known?" He didn't answer. "How long?" I repeated. His shoulders shook. Since the week after." My body went cold. "So your mom knew before our wedding?" Marcus started sobbing. "I was going to tell you." "When?" I whispered. "After the baby was born? After you introduced me to your child like it was an inconvenience I had to accept?" He shook his head, crying harder. "I didn't know how. I thought maybe it wasn't mine. I thought—" "You thought you'd get lucky," I said, voice trembling. "You thought the problem would disappear." He kept crying. "I love you." The words hit me like an insult. "You love me?" I repeated. "You love me so much, you married me while carrying a secret baby." He collapsed forward, elbows on knees. I stood there, staring at him, and the strangest thought came over me. This is the man I trusted with my future. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch with my phone in my hand, staring at wedding photos like they belonged to someone else. Marcus begged. He followed me room to room like a desperate dog. He offered therapy, transparency, whatever I wanted. He said he'd pay child support and keep it separate. Like a baby is a subscription service you can keep separate from your marriage. At 2 a.m., he finally said something that made me feel like my soul left my body. "My mom thinks you'll leave me," he whispered. I stared at him. "Your mom thinks?" He nodded, eyes red. "She said if I told you before the wedding, you'd call it off." She said it would ruin everything. She said we should just get married and then deal with it. There was a ringing silence in my ears. I whispered, "So she helped you trap me?" Marcus flinched. "No." "Yes," I said. "She helped you marry me under false pretenses." He sobbed again. "She said you love me. She said once we were married, you'd have to try." Try. As if marriage was a cage that would force me to accept betrayal. I felt this slow, cold fury build in my chest. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I just said, very quietly, "Get out of my sight." Marcus looked up, shocked. "Ava." "Go," I repeated. "I can't look at you." He tried to argue. I stood up and pointed at the door like I was directing a stranger out of my home. He left that night and went to his parents' house. And that's when the real nightmare started. Because you'd think the man getting a stripper pregnant would be the main drama. He wasn't. His family was. The next morning, I got a call from Linda. No hello, no apology. Just, "Ava, I heard there was a misunderstanding." I laughed into the phone. "A misunderstanding?" "Yes," Linda said smoothly. "Marcus made a mistake. It doesn't change who he is. You're married now. You need to focus on your vows." My hands started shaking. "You knew." Linda sighed like I was exhausting her. "Of course I knew. I'm his mother." "You helped him hide it." "We protected your marriage," she corrected. "Because you would have overreacted." Overreacted to my husband impregnating another woman. I felt my voice go icy. "You trapped me." Linda's tone hardened. "Don't be dramatic. You love my son. This is a bump in the road." "A bump," I whispered, almost to myself. "A whole human child is a bump." Linda lowered her voice like she was giving me a private lesson. "Listen carefully. That girl is not your problem. She's trying to manipulate him. She's probably lying. Even if she isn't, Marcus will handle it financially. You don't need to make this public." There it was. The real concern. Not my pain. Not the betrayal. The optics. "I'm not covering for him," I said, voice shaking with anger. Linda's voice sharpened. "If you leave him, Ava, you'll look like the woman who abandoned her husband at the first sign of trouble. People will talk." People will talk. That was her weapon. Shame. Image. Reputation. I said, "I don't care." Linda paused, then said coldly, "You should." Then she hung up. I sat there, heart pounding, realizing this wasn't going to be a simple divorce conversation. This was going to be war. Over the next week, Marcus texted constantly. Apologies, pleas, promises. He sent long paragraphs about how he was spiraling and never meant to hurt me, and it was just sex. Then he started trying a different angle. He said, "I swear it was only once." I replied with one line. "She has messages from you. Dates. Photos." He didn't answer for hours. Then he sent, "Okay, it happened more than once, but it wasn't emotional." As if the absence of romance makes betrayal less deadly. Meanwhile, Linda started calling my mother. My mom called me one night, voice tight. "Marcus's mother says you're having a breakdown." I actually froze. "What?" "She says you're unstable," my mom said slowly. "That you're spiraling and making things up. I felt my stomach drop. Linda was getting ahead of the narrative. She wanted to paint me as hysterical, irrational. That way, if I told anyone the truth, it would sound like I was exaggerating. I started documenting everything. Screenshots, voicemails, notes with dates. I felt like I was building a case file instead of living my life. Jess texted me too. She was careful, polite, almost apologetic. "I'm sorry," she wrote. "He hasn't responded. I don't want problems. I just want him to acknowledge this." I asked her, "Did he ever say anything about his family?" Her reply came fast. He said his mom would handle it. Handle it. Linda's favorite phrase. 2 weeks after Jess showed up, Marcus came to the house to talk. I agreed only because I wanted answers, and I wanted them in person. He arrived looking wrecked, unshaven, eyes hollow, like he wanted me to feel sorry for him. I didn't. He sat across from me at our kitchen table, the same table where he proposed, and started crying immediately. "Ava, please," he said. "I'll do anything." I stared at him. "Tell me the truth. All of it." He hesitated, just long enough. My stomach tightened. "Marcus," he exhaled shakily. "It wasn't just the bachelor party." I felt my chest go tight. "I know." He swallowed. "It started there. But I kept talking to her after. She made me feel wanted." I stared at him like he was speaking a different language. "You were wanted by your fiancé," I said. "By the woman you were planning to marry." He nodded quickly. I know, but it was like, I don't know, something stupid in my brain. It was exciting." Exciting? He said it like a confession and didn't even realize how disgusting it sounded. I asked, "Did you ever plan to tell me?" Marcus looked down. "After the wedding, I thought once we were married, we could handle it." There it was again. Marriage as a trap. I leaned forward, voice low. "Did your mom tell you that?" He flinched. I didn't need him to answer. Then he said something that made me feel physically ill. "She wanted to meet you," Marcus whispered. I blinked. "Who?" "Jess," he said. "My mom. She wanted Jess to come over. She said she could talk sense into her." My whole body went cold. "You let your mom intimidate a pregnant woman," I said. Marcus looked sick. I didn't know what else to do. I felt rage rise. "You didn't know what else to do? How about not cheating? How about telling the truth? How about not letting your mother run damage control like you're a celebrity in a scandal?" Marcus started sobbing harder. I'm sorry. I stared at him, and something in me shifted. This wasn't my partner. This was a coward. And the more I looked at him, the more I realized I'd been married not to a man, but to a family system, one that prioritized appearances over integrity, one that believed women exist to absorb men's mistakes quietly. I told Marcus, "I want a divorce." He froze like I'd slapped him. "No," he whispered. "No, we can fix this." I stood up. "There's nothing to fix. You broke it." He begged. He cried. He tried to grab my hand. I pulled away and said, "You made choices. Now I'm making mine." He left, shaking and sobbing. That night, Paige messaged me. "You're really going to throw everything away?" she wrote. "Over a mistake?" I didn't respond. Then she sent, "Do you know what kind of woman shows up at a married man's house? Trash. She's trash. I stared at that message and felt something snap into place. They weren't just protecting Marcus. They were vilifying Jess to make me feel like the enemy was her, not him. The next morning, Linda posted a vague Facebook status about praying for family during trying times and how some people don't understand the meaning of commitment. People commented hearts and prayers. I felt nauseous. I decided then I wasn't going to let her control the story. I reached out to Jess and asked if she'd be willing to meet me. Not to confront her, just to understand what I was dealing with, and to warn her that Linda was not safe. We met at a quiet cafe. Jess looked even more exhausted in person. Dark circles under her eyes, hands wrapped around a mug like she was trying to steal warmth from it. She said softly, "I didn't want to ruin your marriage." I shook my head. He ruined it. Jess swallowed hard. He told me he was going to leave you. I froze. My stomach dropped. What? Jess nodded, eyes glossy. He said he felt trapped, that the wedding was a mistake, that you were controlling. My blood ran cold, because those were Linda's words. Trapped, controlling, overreacting. It sounded rehearsed. Jess looked down. I know it sounds horrible. I didn't believe him at first, but he kept saying it. He said he loved me. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I forced myself to ask, "Did he ever talk about the baby before you told him you were pregnant?" Jess nodded slowly. Yes. I stared at her. He joked about it, she whispered. He said, "What if you end up pregnant? That would be insane." He laughed. I told him to stop. He said he'd take care of it. My skin crawled. Then Jess said something else. After I told him I was pregnant, he brought his mom to the club. My entire body went cold. What? I whispered. Jess nodded, eyes wet. Linda came in. She sat in a booth like she owned the place. She asked for me by name. I felt dizzy. What did she do? Jess's face twisted with fear. She smiled at me and said, "You're going to make the right choice." Then she slid an envelope across the table. My throat tightened. What was in it? Jess swallowed. Cash. My vision blurred with rage. Jess nodded. She said if I handled it, there would be more. She said Marcus was a good man and I shouldn't ruin his life for a mistake. I gripped the edge of the table so hard my fingers hurt. Jess whispered, "I told her no. I told her I'm keeping the baby." And then Linda threatened you, I said, voice shaking. Jess nodded again, tears spilling now. She said no one would believe me. She said I was nothing. I sat back, heart pounding. It wasn't just cheating. It was a cover-up. A coordinated, calculated effort to erase consequences. And it hit me then, like a truck. Marcus didn't just betray me with sex. He betrayed me with deception, with planning, with family involvement. He married me while his mother was trying to pay off the woman carrying his child. That's not a mistake. That's a scheme. When I got home, my phone was blowing up. Marcus, Linda, Paige, even Ron, the quiet dad, had texted, "Please reconsider. Families get through things." I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I called a lawyer. The lawyer's calm voice grounded me. She asked questions, I answered. She told me what steps to take, what documents to gather, how to protect myself financially. When she asked, "Do you have proof?" I said, "Yes." And I realized I'd become the kind of woman who collects proof to survive her own marriage. That night, Marcus showed up again, without warning. He was frantic, eyes wild. "You met with her," he said as soon as I opened the door. His face twisted. "My mom." Oh. Linda was monitoring Jess. Or Jess was still being contacted. Or Marcus had access to something. My chest tightened. "Get out." "Ava, please," he begged. "She's twisting things. She wants money. She wants to ruin me." I laughed, cold. "You ruined you." He stepped closer, tears streaming. "I can't lose you." "You already did," I said quietly. Then he said the line that made me see him with perfect clarity. "I didn't think it would happen like this," he whispered. I stared at him. "Like what?" He swallowed hard. "That she'd keep it. That you'd find out so soon." So soon. Not that he did it. Not that he hurt me. But that the consequences arrived earlier than he planned. I felt my stomach turn. I said, "You and your mom tried to pay her off." Marcus's face went blank. Too blank. Then he whispered, "She told you that?" "So it's true," I said. Marcus started shaking his head. "She was trying to help. She thought—" "Stop," I snapped. "Stop defending her. You let your mother manage your affair like it was a PR crisis." He sobbed. "I was scared. And I was in love," I said, voice breaking. "I was building a life with you. I was dreaming about our kids while you were creating one with someone else." Marcus dropped to his knees. It would have been dramatic if it weren't so pathetic. "I'll do anything," he said. "I'll sign whatever. I'll cut them off. I'll never talk to her again. Please." I stared down at him, and for a brief second, I almost felt that old reflex, the one that wants to soothe, to fix, to save. Then I thought about Linda sliding an envelope of cash across a table to a pregnant woman. I thought about Marcus, standing at the altar, looking into my eyes, while knowing his child existed in secret. And whatever softness I had for him burned away. I said, "Get out. If you come back, I'll call the police." He looked up, stunned. "You wouldn't." I leaned closer and said, "Try me." He left. The next day, Linda called me from a blocked number. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail anyway. Her voice was calm. Too calm. "Ava," she said, "you're making a decision you'll regret. Marcus is a good man. He made a mistake. If you walk away now, you'll be throwing away everything you've built. Think about your future." Then her tone turned slightly sharper. "And for your own sake, keep this private. People can be cruel." I deleted the voicemail and saved it in a folder. Because now, everything was evidence. Weeks passed like a fog. I told my family, I told my closest friends. Some people reacted with rage on my behalf. Some reacted with stunned disbelief. A few said things that made me want to scream, like, "Maybe you can work through it." As if working through it means swallowing a secret baby. Marcus's family started a quiet smear campaign. I'd hear through mutual friends that Linda was telling people I was unstable and refusing to forgive. Paige posted another vague status about women who don't understand loyalty. At one point, a distant relative of Marcus's messaged me saying, Marriage is sacred. Don't let a little temptation destroy it. A little temptation. I started sleeping with my phone on my chest, like a shield. I stopped eating properly. I lost weight without trying. Every time the doorbell rang, my heart leapt into my throat. Then, a month after Jess first showed up, I got another knock. This time, it was Ron, Marcus's dad. He stood on my porch looking older than I remembered, like the past month had aged him 10 years. "Ava," he said quietly, "can we talk?" I should have shut the door, but something in his face looked defeated, not manipulative. So I let him in. He sat at my kitchen table, hands clasped tightly. "I'm not here to defend Marcus," he said, "and I'm not here to defend Linda." I raised an eyebrow. "Then why are you here?" Ron swallowed hard. "Because this isn't the first time." My blood ran cold. "What?" Ron looked down at his hands. "When Marcus was in college, there was another girl. Not you. Someone serious. Linda didn't like her. She interfered." I stared at him. "How?" Ron's jaw tightened. "She found things, or made things. She convinced Marcus the girl was cheating. He ended it. He was devastated. Later, he found out it wasn't true." My stomach churned. Ron's eyes filled with regret. I didn't stop her. I felt a strange clarity click into place. Linda didn't just protect her son. She controlled him. And she destroyed anything that threatened her control. Ron whispered, "When this happened with the stripper," he looked like the word tasted bitter. "Linda went into crisis mode. She said she'd fix it. She said she couldn't let Marcus ruin his life." I stared at him. "So you knew too?" Ron flinched. "Not at first, but before the wedding, yes." My blood went icy. "Before the wedding," I repeated slowly. "You all knew. And you let him marry me." Ron's face crumpled. "I tried to tell her it was wrong. I did. She said you were the right kind of girl, and it would be a tragedy to lose you." The right kind of girl. Meaning the kind who would tolerate anything. Ron's voice broke. "I'm sorry." I laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. "You're sorry now because it blew up." Ron nodded miserably. "Yes." I sat back, shaking. Then Ron said something that turned my stomach again. "Linda wants to meet you. She wants to talk." I stared at him. "No." Ron's eyes flicked up. "She says if you don't, she'll make sure you regret it." There it was. The mask off. I felt my fear spike, and then, oddly, settle into anger. "I already regret marrying into your family," I said coldly. Ron looked like he'd been slapped. He stood slowly. "I understand." Before he left, he said quietly, "For what it's worth, I'm on your side." After he left, I sat in my kitchen shaking with a new realization. Linda wasn't just trying to control Marcus. She was trying to control me. And she was willing to threaten me to do it. The climax came on a random Friday night, about 6 weeks after everything started. I was at home, alone. The house felt too quiet. My thoughts were too loud. My phone buzzed. A message from Jess. "I'm sorry," it said. "I didn't want to do this, but I have to protect myself." Then another message came. Linda contacted me again. My stomach dropped. "What did she say?" I typed back, hands shaking. Jess sent a voice note. I listened, and my blood went cold. It was Linda's voice. Smooth, calm, venomous.
Ava doesn't need to know anything else, Linda said. And you don't need to make a scene. If you keep pushing, we'll make sure you're known for what you are.
Then Linda's tone turned darker.
And if you think Ava will help you, she won't. Because we're going to make sure she hates you.
I sat there, frozen, listening to Linda casually outline a plan to isolate me, manipulate me, and destroy Jess. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Jess messaged. She said she has photos of me. She said she'll send them to my family. I'm scared. I stared at my phone, rage surging. Linda had crossed the line from toxic mother-in-law into something else. Something predatory. And in that moment, I realized, if I stayed quiet, she'd keep doing this. To Jess, to me, to anyone who threatened her control. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I called Marcus.
He answered immediately, voice raw. Ava?
I said, your mother is threatening Jess. I have proof. Silence. Then Marcus whispered, she wouldn't. I laughed, sharp. She would. She did. I have her voice. Marcus sounded panicked. Please don't. Don't what? I snapped. Expose her? Hold her accountable? Marcus's voice cracked. She'll lose it. She'll destroy everything. She already did, I said. I'm sending you the recording. And if your mother contacts Jess again, I'm taking it to the police. Marcus started crying. Ava, please, I'm begging you. The old version of me would have softened. I didn't. I said, tell your mother to stop, or I will. Then I hung up and sent the recording to Marcus, Paige, and Ron. All of them. If Linda wanted to control the narrative in private, I was going to drag it into the light. Within minutes, Paige called me, screaming. What the hell is wrong with you? She shouted. Why are you doing this? Because your mother is threatening a pregnant woman, I said, voice shaking with anger. And because you all lied to me. Paige hissed. She's protecting Marcus. I snapped. No, she's protecting her image. Paige went silent for a second, then spat. You're going to regret this. Then she hung up. 10 minutes later, Linda called. No block number this time. Full display, bold. I answered. Linda's voice was calm, like she was ordering coffee. Ava. I said, don't. Linda chuckled softly. You're being very emotional. I felt my hands tremble. You threatened Jess. Linda sighed. She's a problem. She's carrying your son's child, I said, voice breaking. Linda's tone hardened. She's carrying a mistake, and you're making it worse. I stared at the wall, heart pounding. You all knew. You let him marry me. Linda didn't deny it. She said simply, we did what was best. I felt sick. Best for who? Linda paused, then said with chilling honesty, best for Marcus. And best for us. U.S. Not him, not me, them. I said, I'm divorcing him. Linda's voice sharpened. You will ruin his life. He ruined mine, I whispered. Linda scoffed. Don't be dramatic. You'll recover. Marcus will not. I laughed bitterly. So I'm disposable. Linda's voice went cold. Listen carefully. If you make this public, If you drag our family name through the mud, I will make sure you regret it. I know people. I know how to make things difficult. My blood ran cold. I said, "Is that a threat?" Linda laughed softly. "It's advice." I inhaled shakily. "I'm recording this." Silence. A split second where her mask slipped. Then she said, too quickly, "You're delusional," and hung up. Because that was it. That was the moment any remaining doubt died. This wasn't just marital betrayal. This was a family that weaponized control, intimidation, and lies to protect their son and themselves. I filed for divorce the following week. Marcus tried to fight it at first, not with anger, with desperation. He showed up at my door again, eyes red, voice hoarse. "Please, let's go to therapy. Let's fix it. I'll cut them off. I'll do anything." I looked at him and felt something close to pity, until I remembered he married me knowing he'd created a child with another woman. I said quietly, "You don't get to offer me a different version of reality now that your plan failed." He flinched like I'd stabbed him. "I loved you," he whispered. I said, "If you loved me, you would have told me before the wedding. You would have given me the choice." He cried. "I was afraid." I nodded slowly. "And now you can be afraid of the consequences." He left, broken. Jess had her baby a few months later, a little boy, Marcus's child. The DNA test confirmed it. I didn't feel jealousy when I heard. I didn't feel anger toward the baby. I felt this strange, hollow ache for the life I thought I was building. Because that baby was proof that I wasn't crazy, proof that I hadn't imagined everything, proof that Marcus's family couldn't rewrite reality forever. Linda tried to contact me once more after the divorce filing, through a mutual friend, with a message that made me laugh out loud. She wants to meet for closure. Closure. As if she hadn't tried to buy off a pregnant woman and threaten me. I refused. I moved out of our house. I kept the dog. I separated finances. I rebuilt, slowly, painfully, like learning to walk again after breaking bones you didn't even know you had. Some nights, I still wake up thinking about our wedding day, about Marcus's hands in mine, about his vows, about the way his mother cried and smiled and hugged me like she'd just won something. And I realize she did. For a moment, she won. She got her son married. She got her picture-perfect family moment. She got me locked in before the truth could surface. But not forever. Because here's the thing they didn't plan for. I didn't stay. I didn't swallow it. I didn't protect their image. And once I stopped playing the role they assigned me, good wife, forgiving woman, quiet victim, the whole thing crumbled. If you take anything from this story, let it be this. If a man cheats, that's betrayal. But if he marries you while hiding it, while hiding a pregnancy, while letting his family help him cover it up, that's not a mistake. That's a strategy. And you deserve better than being someone's plan to avoid consequences. I'm still recovering. I'm still angry sometimes. I still get waves of grief out of nowhere when I see wedding photos, when someone announces a pregnancy, when I hear a song from our honeymoon. But I also feel something else now. Freedom. Because I'd rather be single and rebuilding than married inside a lie. And if Linda ever reads this, if it somehow reaches her through the gossip chain she loves so much, I hope she understands one thing. She didn't just expose her son, she exposed herself. And I'm done carrying their shame for them.